I'm gone. Let's
Okay.
see.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's good to see you as we are coming into our Zoom service. It's Family Shabbat. So I hope that you have a chance to be with your family. And if not, you're thinking about them. And I know that some people might be on Facebook or YouTube watching us with the kids or hanging around. So hopefully everybody's enjoying this nice balmy evening here before
Yeah.
the rain starts. And
Oh,
we can have a nice opportunity to share a Shabbat together. And if there's anything you need, feel free to throw a comment up there. Matt's our gatekeeper. So, Matt, you'll throw your hands up in the air and wave them like you just don't care if there's something that I need to be aware of. Sounds good. Okay. And we shall continue. I am going to share my screen here. We're working out of Mishkan Tifillah in the youth group version. So something new, if you haven't seen it in a little while, since we've been using Rabbi Cheson's PowerPoint slides recently, maybe you'll have to see some new clip art. We'll join together with the words of Hine Matov. Hine Matov Manahim Shevet Achim Gam Hine Matov Manahim Shevet Achim Gam Hine Matov Hine Matov Ya la la ya la 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 Hine Matov Hine Matov Ya la la ya la 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 Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Yachad Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Yachad Hine Matov Hine Matov Ya la la ya la 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 Hine Matov Hine Matov Ya la la ya la 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 Adonai, you abide through all things change. We are anxious and fearful, and we turn our hearts to you, looking to you and leaning on your strength. It's written, blessed is the one whose strength is in you. Blessed now is the faith and courage. Help us to feel that you are with us, steadying and sustaining us with the assurance that we are loved. Be with us and bring us hope that in the days to come our aspirations may be fulfilled and our good and the good of those we love who depend upon us. Banish our fears with the sense that you have always been present to uphold and sustain us. As it is written, have no fear, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with the power of my righteousness. And we say the word Amen together. And join together for the lighting of the candles of the festival candles, of the Shabbat candles, I should say. And if you have candles and you want to bring them into the view so everybody can see what you're bringing with us, mine are down here. They're a little bit low. But I experimented last time with my higher candles, and the wax was all over my desk. And I don't mind the wax all over my kitchen counter, but the wax all over my desk led to a lot bigger of a cleanup, and I have carpet here. So it just caused problems. So today we're using the lower ones. We join together with the blessing over our candles as we welcome in Shabbat. And that one broke right in half. So we're going to go with take 2. There we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, ruler of the universe, who hallows us and commands us to kindle the lights of Shabbat. Shabbat shalom, everybody. We continue with the words of the Baruch Hu, of our blessing, our call to worship. As we join together, if you would like to rise, you're more than welcome to at this time for the words of the Baruch Hu. Yalalai, lai, lai, 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 yalalai, lai, lai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayers? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch hu et Adonai. Yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, la la lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, la la lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai. If you would like to be seated, you're welcome to be. Continue with the words inspired by our prayer for love. We are loved by an unending love. We are embraced by arms that find us even when we are hidden from ourselves. We are touched by fingers that soothe us even when we are too proud for soothing. We are consoled by voices that guide us when we are too embittered to hear. We are loved by an unending love. We are supported by hands that uplift us even in the midst of a fall. We are urged on by eyes that meet us even when we are too weak for meeting. We are loved by an unending love. Embraced, touched, soothed, and consoled. Ours are the arms, the fingers, the voices. Ours are the hands, the eyes, the smiles. We are loved by an unending love. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, leolam vaed. Continue with the words of Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'kol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meotecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavevcha Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha uvlechtecha v'derech ushochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha Leman tiskeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kadoshim lelohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohim emet. As we turn to the words of the Micha Mocha, our prayer for freedom, it's a important time to understand truly what the word freedom means, truly what the word freedom means for us personally. We're in the month of Elul. We're in the month in which we are supposed to be looking inwards, supposed to be doing an introspection. We're supposed to be looking at what we did all this past year and understanding a little bit about maybe what we should really contemplate, what we should really think about when it comes to these 10 days of awe that are just a week away. Rosh Hashanah is just a week away from tonight. In fact, next Shabbat, instead of our regular Erev Shabbat services, we'll join together as a Temple Beth Or community for our Erev Seder, our Rosh Hashanah Erev Seder. This is the time, this is the week where we understand what our own freedom gives us, and also where we are able to look inward for what we should be able to really accept as things we need to work on in the year to come. Join together for the words of Micha Mocha, and none other but Debbie Friedman's tune. I have to say that the words of the Hashkivenu are one of my favorite prayers. It seems to just encompass me every time. It really just surrounds me every single time I have the opportunity to bring it into my heart and bring it into my soul. There's something about going to sleep that's magical. There's something about going to sleep and waking up in the morning feeling new, feeling refreshed, feeling like we have the chance to roll out of bed, hopefully landing on our feet, though my bed is quite high, so sometimes I don't. The chance to really understand what happened over the night is magical to me. And that's why our mystics, that's why the people, the sages that came before us that really dabbled in the magic of Judaism said that we have to have this special prayer to be able to bring us awake in the morning. That saying this Hashkivenu prayer will allow us to go to sleep in peace and ask God to protect us as we sleep and bring us awake in the morning renewed. We say, Adonai, our God, give us a place to rest. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your presence. For with you we find true protection and safety, and in your presence we are accepting and we are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us when we go out and prepare for us as we return home. Spread your shelter of peace over us, Adonai, over all we love, over Jerusalem, and over all yours. We turn now to the words of Amidah, to the words of our standing prayer. If you would like to rise for the words of the Amidah, I would invite you to do so. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. El Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Lifnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah Rahav lehoshia. Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Sohomech noflim verofech holim, Umatir asurim, Kayem emunato Lishenei afar, Micha mocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom melech memit umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yichalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every age. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, and for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your, God, wondrous deeds and favors at every time, day, morning, noon, and night. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Baruch atah Adonai, Hatov simcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. We turn now to the words of Shalom Rav, the words asking for peace to be rained down upon us. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon lekol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adon lekol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. We turn now to the words of the Misha Berach. I'm bringing you a Misha Berach, hopefully in good spirits. In good spirits, a Misha Berach, which maybe you haven't heard recently, but that you'll hear in the days ahead, in the high holidays ahead. I can tell you that you'll hear it because I've already heard it be recorded. So here's a chance, if you haven't heard it in a while, to bring it back a little bit so that you can be reminded of it, and you can join with us when the time comes in the coming week to say Misha Berach together during our high holidays. If you're thinking of somebody right now that's in need of healing, I would invite you to unmute yourself if you would like and share their name out loud. And I will venture over to our Facebook page, and if there's anybody on there, I will share their name with us.
Mindy Ross.
Now you can mute it. Now you can mute it again.
Gary Holstein.
Jan, I think you said a name, but we didn't hear it because you were muted.
Mindy Ross.
I said my two friends who both have cancer, Jean Connaughton and Sheridan Kavanaugh.
And from our Facebook community, we think of Gary and Sue Taylor, the Gruber family, Melissa Lynn Pomerantz. sheberach avoteinu Avraham, Yitzhak, veYaakov. Mi sheberach imoteinu Sara Rivka Leah veRachel. May the one who bless our mothers, may the one who bless our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May the pain and loneliness we're feeling be diminished by the power of your love. Mi sheberach avoteinu Avraham, Yitzhak, veYaakov. Mi sheberach imoteinu Sara Rivka Leah veRachel. May the one who bless our mothers, may the one who bless our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, bless us as well. May all those that are in need of healing, healing of the body, healing of the soul, healing of the spirit, may we take them into our hearts and ask God for healing, for completeness. Baruch atah Adonai rofeh hacholim. Blessed are you, God, healer of the sick, which we say, Amen. Well, it was billed as a service with a story. So here's your hint. It's a story about a ruby. I'm going to turn off my screen share so that instead of looking at a picture, you can see me. So I love stories, and I think it comes from my love of camp. I grew up at a sister camp to Gucci, Osrui, which is in Wisconsin. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, so I went a little farther north to Osrui, which was the first Union camp. So you can say that Gucci was came a little bit after Olin Sang, but that's where I grew up outside of Milwaukee. There's a town called Oconomowoc, which is where Osrui is. And that's where I found my love for stories. So today I'm going to share with you a story that was shared with me by the camp director at the time, Jerry Kay. So if there's anybody out there who are friends of mine from Osrui that might be watching on Facebook or whatever, I don't want you to think that this is my story. I'm giving credit where credit is due. Anyways, it goes a little bit like this. There was once a king in a far, far away land. And the king had a magnificent palace, had everything that you could imagine in the palace. He had servants aplenty. He had food aplenty. He had everything that you would want. He had musicians coming in every night to play for him. He had plenty and plenty and plenty, heaps and heaps. There was just nothing that he didn't have. Except for one thing. And you'll find out about that in a little bit. Every year on the king's birthday, he seemed to disappear for a little bit. He seemed to take a small box and venture into a room where he would lock the door behind himself, and no servant, no musician, no food, no nothing would follow him into the room. It would just be the king in the box in the room. And nobody knew what the king was ever doing inside of the room. Nobody understood really what they could want. What would the king want to do by himself on his birthday every single year in this one room, which was just all by himself? Nobody ever stepped foot into that room. But for whatever it was, every year the king would take his box, he would go into the room, he would spend a little time in the room, and then he would come out, he would have a glistening smile on his face, and he would celebrate his birthday with the plenty, with his friends and with the musicians, with food, with party. Except for 1 year. 1 year, the king went into his study, into his room with his box, and all of a sudden, all of his servants throughout the entire castle heard a wail coming from the king's private study. They had no idea what could be going on, but all of a sudden the king emerged, running out with his box, and he screamed, "Somebody has scratched my ruby." For inside of the box every single year was a ruby which was bestowed to him by his father, a ruby which he would take into a private room, and he would open the box and remind himself of the blessings which his parents had given him. But for some reason, somehow, during the year past, a big scratch appeared straight down the middle of the face of the ruby. The king didn't know what to do. The king had no idea how to fix it. So he called upon his servants to bring in every jeweler across the nation. Bring the jewelers in and ask them if they can polish the ruby, if they can shield the face, if they can figure out a way to make the ruby go back to its original state. And his servants did just that. They brought in every single jeweler from near and far, and they gave the jewelers each few days alone in the room with the ruby. They would bring them food, they would bring them water, they would bring them anything that they needed. And time again, a jeweler would come in and leave, and they would simply return the ruby to the king and say, "I'm sorry, but it's scratched so deeply that we simply cannot fix it. The scratch will be there forever." And the king just couldn't accept that. So the search continued time and time again until a year later, when the king's birthday arrived again, and every single jeweler just kept coming in, and the king arrived at his next birthday and realized that he would not be able to see the power of his ruby in clarity, in softness. Then came a small knock on the door. A young boy was knocking at the king's gate, couldn't be more than 10 or 12 years old. And he said to the king, "I know how to fix your ruby." Now, the king's servants simply laughed at him. How could this young child, how could a young boy be able to take such a precious thing and fix it when all of the best jewelers in the nation couldn't do it? But the king had literally nothing left to lose. So he said to his servants, he said, "Take the boy and take the ruby and lock them in the room and just make sure that the boy does not steal my ruby." And the king said, "That's what we'll do. We'll see what the boy can do." So the boy took the ruby and followed the servants down the long corridor and went into a room and said, "Don't bother me except for bringing me a cheese sandwich. Just slide it under the door every single day." And that's exactly what the servants did. For 7 days and 7 nights, the boy would remain locked in the room. And then one day, after a week, he emerged with the box sealed, and he said to his king, he said, "Your Majesty, hold on to this. And when the time is right, open it again, and you'll see the majesty which I have created for you." So the king waited another 51 weeks, now 2 years after first seeing the scratch down the face of the ruby. And he took that box, which he assumed the boy had fixed. He said that he had fixed it. And with a little bit of doubt, the king took the ruby and he went into the room where he would always go for years prior. And he opened the box, and he looked at it, and he peered down. The boy had not fixed the scratch. Instead, he had taken the scratch and turned it into the stem of a beautiful rose engraved on the face of the ruby. The boy left a note for the king. He said, though our flaws may be deep, we always have the ability to turn them into blessings. On the eve of this Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, of these high holy days, which are surely going to be a first for many of us, holy days which are going to feel different, holy days which are going to feel like we're missing something even. We're going to take the scratch that's within each of our hearts as we enter into the new year and hopefully turn it into a beautiful rose. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with the concluding words in our service, the words of the Aleinu. If you would like to rise, I invite you to do so at this time. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu ki'ei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. We turn now to the words of the Mourner's Kaddish, to the words of sacred memory, the words of holy memory. Yesh kokhavim b'shamayim, there are stars up above, so far away that we only see their light. Long, long after the star itself is gone, and so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. On this Shabbat, we mark the yahrzeits of Kurt Farnbacher, Aaron Lauber, Ellie Waldman-Baer, Martin Cowper, Stanley Goldberg, Richard Layden, Max Schreiner, Isaac Kruk, Jerome Sherman, Radney Goldberg Stump, Hilda Davis, James Fortner, Jean Schwartz, Frida Swillinger, Miriam Burt, Gilbert Kramer. In addition to these yahrzeits, we also recall the recent passing of Noel Zeidel, Beverly Geisenfeld, Gail Hurrick, Thelma Karp, and Hank Stern. If you're thinking of somebody at this time, I would invite you to share their name either out loud or in your heart as we take this moment, this silent moment, for sacred memory. We had the name Rita Bloom from our Facebook community. In addition to all those names that we just recited and all those names in our community, on this Shabbat, on this September 11th, We recall all those who perished on the terror attacks 19 years ago, and all those who have died in the war on terror, sacrificing their lives to protect us and keep us safe. May their memories always be for a blessing and a source of strength. Please rise if you would like. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayachon uvyomachon v'chayei dekol beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'bizman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dukudasha brechu. Le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one in the high heavens who creates peace for all who mourn bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to the entire world, which we say, amen. Shabbat shalom, everybody. I hope that it's been a pleasant service so far. We'll join together. If you have your Kiddush cups, I have mine here. We'll join together in the words of the Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ava uvratzon hinkilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikrai kodesh, zecher letziat mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, inchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-shabbat. L'chaim. And of course, our challah, hopefully next week with a round one. I have mine right here. It's a half challah this time. I cut it in half, so don't tell anybody. We say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'tei avon, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Wishing everybody a good Shabbat. For all of those on Facebook or YouTube, we enjoyed having you. I'm going to turn off our live stream, but thanks for joining.